Hey, welcome back to another edition of Strategic Solutions Technology. I'm your host, Travis Norris, Dr. Travis Norris, that is, some people call me, and I am the founder of Strategic Solutions Technology and the developer of the Norris PMI Thinking Framework, where we help you not only sit for the PMP exam or the PMI-ACP, but also pass that exam with flying colors. Well, if you're following us on LinkedIn or you're following us on YouTube, I'm glad you're back. We've done a couple of short videos, but we wanted to come back again with 10 more questions. This time, looking at it from an agile standpoint, utilizing the Norris PMI thinking framework, where we think first, right? You look at all the tension. What's the best answer? Try to narrow it down to two answers, right? Not one, but two answers. And then you communicate. If the question is asking you to collaborate with your team, typically you want to lean towards that question, collaborative, and then you want to lead, servant leadership, removing impediments for your team, making sure your team has everything they need in order to be successful is going to be key. And then most of all, you want to deliver value early and often. Now, these 10 questions are moderate to difficult, and then there's one expert level question. And you can utilize these if you're taking the PMI ACP or if you're taking the agile portion of the PMP exam, they will help you and they will benefit you. Let's jump right in, okay? Question number one. A sponsor says, lock the backlog now so we can prevent scope creep, okay? Now remember, this is an agile project. The market is still changing, and the team has only validated two customer assumptions. What should the agile practitioner do? Now, remember, look at the real tension in this question. Typically, a question will say, what should you do first? Well, this one's just saying, what should you do overall? So, utilize the Norris PMI thinking framework, which is off to the right. And at any time, pause me so that you can read the question for yourself and then choose the best answer, okay? So, A, agree and baseline the backlog because stability is the highest priority. That's more of a predictive, probably methodology, not an agile one. Explain that scope can evolve while outcomes stay clear. Use validation and ordering to protect value. Okay. That sounds a strong one so far. Ask the team to estimate the entire backlog in detail before any more work starts. Okay. Tell the sponsor agile teams do not manage scope and that the product owner decides alone. All right. This is a very good question, and it's going to make you think about it because you must utilize your agile framework thinking. So, diagnose the real tension, communicate clearly, lead, and then deliver. Protect that value and outcomes at all costs. All right. What did you choose here? Hope you chose the right way. Right. Letter B. So, agile. Loves change. It welcomes change. So you don't need to be afraid of change. The scope creep is not necessarily a thing that we are concerned with on an agile project. Hybrids, primarily predictive projects, is where you'll see scope creep becoming an issue. With agile, it welcomes change, which is why we have retrospects after the sprint, right? That way, we're able to see what we did well, what we didn't do so well, and then get ready for the next sprint. So there's no room, if you will, or any worry or concern as it relates to scope creep. So B was the best answer utilizing the Norris PMI thinking framework. So think through this. Separate stable outcomes from changeable scope. Communicate. So reframe the sponsor's concern around evidence value. We want to deliver that value. Then lead out. Preserve collaboration. Get with the team. So I can see somebody choosing C because you want to ask the team to estimate the entire backlog. But then the reason C wouldn't be correct is why? Well, that product owner controls that backlog. So the team would need to re-estimate. The product owner would give them what goes in that sprint backlog, maybe, not the product backlog. And then D cancels itself out because you tell the sponsor that to manage scope, that would be on the product owner. So that sounds right, but that's not correct because here the product owner is taking, they're representing that customer, they're taking what they got, they're putting it in the backlog. The team is pulling from that to build their sprints and then get their sprint planning done. So B was the best answer. Very good. Let's look at number two here. Right. Here's a leadership question. During stand-ups, team members say everything is fine. Right. I've heard that before. Later, the scrum master discovers major blockers were hidden because people feared blame. Yeah, that's not a good environment, right? What should the scrum master do first? This is key. When you read these type of questions, it's different than question number one. The question number one was just kind of overall, what should you do? So B was the correct answer for question number one. Here, some of these may be correct, but what's the first thing you should do? A, ask the functional manager to identify who failed to report the blockers. B, create a rule requiring every developer to list one blocker each day. Okay, requirements, that's not really agile. C, address psychological safety, invite honest risk sharing, and remove blame from impediment discussions. Or, that's a pretty good one, or C, or D, I'm sorry, cancel stand-ups and replace them with written status reports to reduce pressure. Now, D, you can get rid of because D is a more predictive waterfall type of thing, and you don't never want to get rid of stand-ups as it relates to agile. We need those to get feedback. I'm choosing, I already know which one I'm choosing. Which one are you going with? I'm leaning towards C. Yep, there you go. Take a good sip there of my mushroom coffee. Yeah, letter C. When you look at the question, there's some fear. So the team, you being a servant leader, needs to create this environment where your team feels safe. They keep saying there's nothing wrong, and then later on you find major roadblockers. Well, that's hindering value. If value can't be delivered, guess what, you all? Then the project is failing and we're failing our customer. So C addresses that. A, functional manager to identify who failed. That's going to continue to breed fear, right? That's fear mongering. That's kind of a dictatorship, not a collaborative approach. B, create a rule. In agile, there's no rules that you would create, right? Agile is not a free for all, but it does create some type of safety. And of course, we said D, you're not canceling stand-ups in an agile environment. You need those to get that feedback, to address kind of what's going on, to make sure our team knows how we're delivering that value. We want to restore truthful information so they can flow, so decisions can improve, right? Very good. Let's move to question number 3 here. All right. Question number 3. Several executives are giving developers quick requests outside the backlog. Okay, so they're kind of circumventing the process. Product owners often unavailable, and sprint goals are being missed. All right, so value is being jeopardized here. What is the best next step? So again, like question number 2, there may be some steps in here that are good, but what's the best next one? What should we do next? All right, A, let executives keep making requests because customer responsiveness is agile. Okay. Um, Reinforce a single ordered backlog, clarify decision rights, and help the product owner create a stakeholder intake rhythm. Tell the developers to reject all stakeholders communication immediately, or D, extend each sprint so the team has time to finish the extra work. All right, excuse some of these fonts. When my colleagues made some of these slides, the fonts kind of got mixed up. So I do apologize about that. But which one are you choosing here? It kind of jumps out at you when you really think about the agile principles. What did you choose? Yeah, letter B here. Um, we do want to engage with our executives, but there is a process. Again, as I mentioned before in questions 1 and 2, agile doesn't mean we don't have parameters and structure. It just means we welcome change at a higher rate than a predictive or waterfall project. So we don't want to continue to let the executives make the request because that's hindering a workflow down the road, which is causing our sprints to be missed, and that's not good for the customer. Telling developers to reject all stakeholder communication, can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, type of scenario here. There just needs to be a structure, right? Or extended sprint. Sprints don't need to be extended. You can move it to another sprint. That's not good agile practices. So just reinforcing B is the best one. Let's order the backlog. Let's talk about decision rights, and let's help there be a rhythm. And utilizing Norris PMI Thinking Framework, if you think first, you identify the hidden work. What's the unclear decision here? B, or communicate, all right? What's the visible stakeholder intake rhythm? Let's develop that as a team, and then lead, reinforce the power of the product owner on the backlog, but also the collaborative approach is going to be key, and then deliver what? Value. The sprint focus does not need to extend. We just need to make sure that the sprints have what they need in order to be successful, okay? All right, very good. How you doing so far? I think you're getting this. All right, let's go to question 4. Kanban team has WIP limits or work in progress limits, but leaders keep asking the team to just start one more urgent team item. I'm sorry, I said team. A cycle time is increasing and work is piling up. In review, what should the lead team do? Okay, so we're having some issues here. Remove WIP limits because urgent work means the system needs flexibility. Um, Ask each team member to multitask more efficiency across the active items. I think you're looking at the symptom, not the issue. And C, use flow data to show the impact. Facilitate a trade-off decision and protect WIP limits or work in progress limits unless work is inherently expedited, okay? Or D, move review work back to development so that the board looks less congested. Yeah, so this one should jump out at you as well. Again, the font probably gave it away. But what are you choosing here? Okay. Right. So think through this again. Utilize the Norris PMI Thinking Framework. Look at the thing, the communicate, the lead, the deliver. Think about this for a second. And which one jumps out at you? Of course, I'm choosing C because, and you know what? A colleague of mine made this question, but when I look at this, this is very good. See, a Kanban board is an information radiator, right? It's kind of how you show it within an agile project, a PMP project, of course, a PMI-ACP, what's in progress, what's being tested, and what's complete. So it's a visual aid or information radiator where the team, executives, stakeholders can see what's going on. So we don't want to communicate false information like D kind of lets us, tells us, right? Multitasking doesn't help here. There's not an issue with the work being done, right? The issue is there's no, again, structure here. So we want to utilize the Norris PMI thinking framework. We want to think through this. We want to communicate and make the cost of each urgent trade-off visible. Let's show everybody on the team in this area in our daily stand-up, hey, here's what we have going on. Maybe we can swarm or whatever the case is to kind of get this done, and then we need to lead. Let's protect our WIP policies and facilitate prioritization. What's most important? What's going to deliver that value early and often? Let's get that out. So the customer is realizing value early and often, and then let's finish the work before starting more, okay? So C was the best answer here. All right. Question number 5. A senior manager wants individual utilization charts to identify who's not busy enough. This is odd. The agile team is meeting goals, but quality issues are emerging. Excuse me. What should the agile coach recommend? So, what should he recommend to the senior manager? A, provide the charts because individual accountability always increases performance. Not necessarily true. Ask the team to inflate task estimates so utilization appears healthy. So a lot of lack of integrity answers here, right? C, shift the conversation to team outcomes, flow, quality, and sustainable posts rather than individual busyness. Stop sharing all metrics until leadership fully understands agile principles. All right, so what are you thinking here? Diagnose the real tension in the question. Let's create a clear and an alignment, and then let's lead. So, what are you leaning towards here? Should we provide the chart? Should we ask the team to inflate? Absolutely not. B is automatically gone. That's no character there. And then stop sharing all metrics. You could do that, but what is the key answer here? What are you going with? Let's measure value, not motion. Here it is. Let's look. I'm going with C. Yeah, there you go. All right. So, C is rewarding motion while damaging. See, when you don't want to create all of this motion and this, it looks like we're doing some work when there's real no value, right? So the lead or the agile coach should recommend we're not going to isolate individuals and just kind of leave them out there. They're doing wrong. That's not collaborative. If you look at the Norris PMI Thinking Framework, that's not good servant leadership. So what we want to do is we want to say, hey, how do we build our team up and work together the team? So shifting that conversation to team outcomes, not individual outcomes, to me is a lot better collaboratively, and it helps the team stay together. Okay. All right, we're halfway there. Let's give it a go. How you doing, man? I'm really liking these questions. Hope they're making you think. All right, and I hope they're making you grow as a PMI-ACP candidate. All right. A distributed team says retrospects feel repetitive. Same issues are discussed each sprint, but no action items are completed. That sounds like there's no ownership. What should the facilitator do? Okay. So in Agile, as I mentioned before, there's a couple ceremonies you need, right? But you need a retrospect. At the end of that sprint, what did we do well? What didn't we do well? And what are we going to change to get ready for this next sprint that's coming up? So skip retrospects until the team has a serious problem worth discussing. Use a focus retro format. Select one small experiment, assign ownership, and review the action next sprint. Okay. Ask management to attend every retro so the team feels pressure to improve. Or D, create a long improvement backlog and require the team to complete it before future work. I'm leaning towards B because it sounds like there is this format, there is this a pilot, right? There's this assignment of ownership, and there is a probably a responsibility and what I like to call accountability before we move out. All right. Yeah, B is the correct answer here. So the problem is missing follow through, not the retrospective stuff. There's nothing wrong with the retrospect. Nobody's following up on their task. So we need the help. So they're focusing the conversation on a team, I'm sorry, a retro focused format will help the team better understand expectations. So even though they're repetitive, um, without action items, there's no communication. So therefore, nobody kind of knows what's going on. And we want to make sure that as the agile practitioner, if we're the coach, want to make sure that this is getting done so our team knows where we're going and where we want to be. All right. Question number 7. Doing good. 3 more left. Team delivered all planned features for a release. Analytics shows customers are not using the new workflows. Okay. Stakeholders want the team to immediately build more features. Okay. Well, nobody's using it. What should the product owner do? Now, remember what the product owner's over. Remember what he oversees or she oversees. So, hey, prove the new features because low adoption means the product needs more functionality. Throw money at it. I don't know. Don't think about that one. Ask marketing to promote the release harder before changing the backlog. Review outcome data with stakeholders. Test assumptions and reorder the backlog toward improving adoption and user value. Or close the release as successful because the team completed the planned scope. Yeah, this one should jump out as you. Well, I'm rubbing my head because I'm like, this question is kind of. So let me say this. A lot of times when I'm reading these questions, it's easier now because I'm a trainer and I've been through it. But I'll tell you, maybe when I saw this, when I was studying and preparing, um, I probably would have chose A. And I don't even know why, because I saw the new features, you're kind of trying to find some similarities in the questions and in the answers. But when you know agile principles, C makes the best case, right? Because even though features are completed, it doesn't prove that there's value there. Evidently, nobody's using it. So let's make the adoption evidence valuable. Facilitate learning rather than defending the original plan. Well, we got it done. We got it done. Okay, where's the value though? Nobody's using it. So maybe there's a reason why that's being done. So C is the best answer. Let's review the outcomes with the stakeholders collaboratively. Let's test our assumptions. That's leading and thinking, right? And let's reorder the backlog. So that's that prioritization so that we can see how do we get from here to there so our customers happy and everybody knows what's going on. All right. Question number 8 here. Every sprint, stories appear done until integration begins. Then defects are found and several stories carry over into next sprint. Okay. What is the best improvement? So what is the best way to improve this process? All right. Add a separate hardening sprint after every 2 development sprints. Strengthen the definition of done with integration, testing, and automation expectations inside the sprint. Sounds pretty good. Ask the product owner to accept partiality integrated stories to protect velocity, or move all testers to the end of the sprint so developers can code faster and early. Yeah, this one should jump out to you as well. So think, diagnose again the real tension, communicate to your team, lead, and deliver. Which one are you going with? I'm going with B on this one. There we go. So if every sprint stories are done until integration begins, maybe there's no sign off. We need to have a definition of done, and it needs to be clear, and everybody needs to know it and buy in on it. And then we need to strengthen our testing and automation expectations. Why is this important? Because why? Well, if the defects are found and several stores are carrying over, then that means value is being hindered. And part D, or I'm sorry, the fourth part of the Norris PMI Thinking Framework, or the fourth step is what? Products are delivered value early and often. Well, this is hindering that, so we need to get rid of that, okay? This mushroom coffee, by the way, is amazing. It's keeping me going while we're doing our videos. All right, question number 9. Team must deliver a regulatory capability by a fixed date. Okay. Dependencies are unclear, and the product owner wants to keep all non-critical enhancements in the release. Okay. What should the agile practitioner recommend, though? Even though that's the story of the product owner, they're in charge of the product backlog. What should be the recommendation? Keep all enhancement because removing scope could disappoint stakeholders. Delay risk conversations until more designs, details are known. Just putting it off. Ask the team to work longer hours so the original release can be stacked. I never like that. And then here it is. Since the minimum compliant outcome exposes dependencies early and reorder enhancements below mandatory computers work. So there's been a flip flop. Okay. So we have an outcome. We have dependencies early, but here it is. They need to reorder the enhancements below mandatory compliance work. So in other words, we can do another task or some other tasks while we're doing this, and we don't have to risk. We don't have to risk anything. Agile reduces scope risk by slicing it to minimum compliant outcome, or MVP, if you will. So we're going to order value. And so the main move here in this question is we want to separate mandatory value from nice to have scope. So I would like to have this. I would like to have these critical enhancements, and the product owner say, yeah, let's do it. Well, I hear you, but here's my recommendation. What's the worst they can say is no, or maybe we come to it like an agreement to the team. But you want to recommend D. You want to recommend the team or that team member goes to college and enjoys it. Okay. We are on the last question. You guys are doing amazing, by the way, too. All right. One last sip. Here we go. A team must deliver a regulatory capability by a fixed date. Dependencies are unclear. Oh, we just had that one. Sorry. Let's go back here. All right. An executive asks for for exact dates for every feature over the next year. Wants exact dates. Agile doesn't really give you exact dates, but let's read the question. Product is complex and team throughput varies. What is the best response to this request? Well, get the exact dates now so leadership has confidence. There's no way to do that, I don't think, in an agile project. Provide a range-based forecast using empirical data, assumptions, and confidence levels. Okay. High, low, medium, critical, whatever, and update it regularly. Or C, refuse to forecast because agile teams never predict future delivery. Okay. Or ask the team to commit to the days by signing a delivery agreement. I'm kind of torn between B and C here. I'm leaning towards B because B mentions this empirical data, these assumptions, this confidence, coupled with we have a forecast too, or a range-based forecast. So because we don't have concrete dates, because again, agile welcomes change, I think B is the correct answer. Let's see if we got it right. Look at the bottom there. B is, in fact, the correct answer. So utilize the Norris PMI Thinking Framework. Recognize that complexity makes exact year-long dates unrealistic. We don't know. We don't even know 2 weeks out. So we want to make sure that as a team, we're communicating that to the vendor. All right. So, wow. I think we're at the end here. I think we did 10. That was a difficult one. Oh, we have one expert question. Here it is. One expert question. I think we have it here. I love this question. A colleague of mine wrote this. Sales promised a fixed date and full features set for a strategic client. Agile team has to have dependency delays, risk factors, and product owner being pressured to accept low value scope. What should the agile lead do first? Let's read our choices. Escalate that sales caused the problem and actually should force the team to work overtime. Yeah, but they can just call in sick. Protect team autonomy by refusing all stakeholders' input while the next release planning cycle. Yeah, maybe. That may give you some more time, but is that good engagement with our customers? C, create transparency around risk. Reframe the release around MVP value and facilitate trade-off decisions and strengthen quality dependency controls. Or D, ask the product owner to freeze the backlog and accept all features as mandatory because the customer expects them. Well, that's a mouthful. What are you leaning towards? It's C or D for me. I'm going to choose C. All right, there we go. C. No single person or team owns this failure. Communication establishes shared vision. When you come together, utilizing Norris PMI Thinking Framework, in that lead piece, you are a servant leader. That is key. You want to bring the team together and you want to remove anything that may hinder the team from being able to be successful, okay? Well, I think you've done a good job. There's been some lags here, and I know you saw me drinking my mushroom coffee, but I think you did good. This is a great way to expand your PMI ACP thinking. If you're sitting for the exam again, you can utilize the same framework and these same type of questions on the PMP exam as well, because they have a lot of agile questions. They have some expert. Well, you don't. I don't think you see a lot of expert questions on the exam, but in your study hall and in our boot camp, if you want to sign up for that, all the information will be below. Sign up and get connected with Strategic Solution Technology. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us on our YouTube page. We have a plethora of knowledge, plethora of information that I think will help you think, communicate, lead, and deliver at a high level. Okay. So I know you got the answer, but maybe go back. If you have time, go back and watch this so you can begin to develop that muscle so that you won't be just a good test taker, but you'll understand what you're trying to accomplish and what you're going to get done. All right. Well, I'll see you next time on another edition of Strategic Solution Technology, where we have 10 more questions that'll be moderate to difficult with one expert level question. Okay. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.